Hello. Today, I want to talk about organic shapes in 3D space. I learned a lot of it from Drawbox. Just to tell you, this image is from Drawbox. I stole it. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just citing my source. It was a part of an exercise, and I kind of wondered what to make of it, because when I learned it, it was organic forms. You pretty much focus on making these like sausage things, and like they're not really anything but just like fake objects in 3D space. So normally when I would think of them, I got these images off Google, by the way, but basically I think of like mealworms. I mean, I think an organic shape could just be like anything that's organic. I mean, like I would think of like bugs, maybe like a human arm, squash, because like I think all of those have, well, they're all organic in a sense, and I think that they all provide really good use cases to look at reference to draw from. So even if you look at this image here that I got off Google, if it'll load, it kind of looks like, look, it's a good reference image because you have all of these overlapping mealworms that are like flowing over each other, and that's kind of what the main point of the organic forms exercise in Drawbox was to show that like you could represent the squishing, or not in this case they're not squishing because they're a little more rigid, but just the way they flow over other objects. So I'm going to make that small just to get it out of the way. Just to tell you, I'm using an application I made called Thumbtastic. It's free. I'll have a link in the description. But so sorry, back to the point. Yeah, organic forms. So I want to draw stuff below the horizon because we're kind of like, we're like looking above at the object. So whenever you drew any of these organic forms, you would try to make, following the Drawbox exercise, you would try to make both sides even. You would draw a line through it to show like this line is going directly through it, like through the center over here. There's like an exit hole, there's like an entrance hole and an exit hole. And you also show the ellipses, which is kind of like your viewing angle, just to say like there's going to be a part when it's like a straight line because you can't see that ellipse. I mean, it's still there, but like, here we have like poles, and that represents like we're seeing it. It's not like a direct circle or an ellipse facing us directly. Like think of like a cent piece. Think of like a penny, right? Like a penny facing us would be like that, and basically in the case of this ellipse and that ellipse, or yeah, it would be a little more faced, like kind of turned a bit. It's kind of turned ever so slightly because it's not directly facing us, but it's sort of facing us. And as you go, like I'm using this, just looking at this as a reference. The ellipse is like the widest here, and as this form twists away from us in 3D space, the degree is getting a bit thinner. So, uncomfortable. Who was the person that made this? Or oops, I'm so sorry. Don't know why that happened. Urshad. Wow, I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to mess that up. But all of my images disappeared. Okay, I wish that would stop. But basically, he drew partial ellipses in this image, but the reality is that you have like, these are full ellipses. It represents like how much of it you can see, and as you go, it gets the degree, or like, you see less and less of the ellipse because it's starting to face away from us. So I'm gonna do one that's a bit thinner. It's probably too big of a jump. but the degree is getting thinner because we're seeing less of that ellipse. And like I said, of our penny example, if you take a penny and put it like on its side, it looks like a line. Well, it looks like a line, but the reality is it's more, it kind of looks like an object that has like a very small width to it. And if you have any coin in your house, you can kind of tell like there are ridges on it. I'm guessing that has something to do with the manufacturing process. And you kind of have it like that, and that's what that ellipse represents. And over here, you may be wondering what to deal with that. That's because it's also like twisting back to us. And sorry, my example was a bit poor. I needed to kind of show it twisting more. I didn't do a really good job at doing that. But effectively, it's kind of just mirroring what we did over here is going to be like mirrored over here. Just the ellipses are going to face the opposite direction because you could use those ellipses to show that. I think the main point that the exercise was also trying to show, obviously the direction, and I think partial ellipses could really help show direction a bit better, just in my opinion, because I think it kind of gets a bit confusing when you're trying to deal with full ellipse, when you're trying to deal with a full ellipse. And I also think that like it's a bit difficult to get the motion correct. Like, you have to hit both. You want to hit like both here and here when you're doing it. And I've always found it easier to like start. Like, I found partial ellipses a bit easier to pull off. But I want to go back to our mealworms as soon as I could bring them up again. In just a second. Sorry. I'm going to clear what I had before, but I am going to show you an example. Okay. So we have our, I'm going to get this out of the way, sort of, not really. I'm going to make it smaller. I think I messed that up. Okay, so we have our mealworms here. And it's not too complex of an example because like there are not too many of them that are stacking. But I think of like a stacking order when it comes to them. I like to draw what's on the bottom first, but the challenge that presents to us is we may not always be able to see exactly what's on the bottom. Like here, when I'm looking at this image, I can't see, if you could see where my cursor is, I can't see like a good portion of what I could only assume is the mealworm's head kind of buried underneath the other mealworm. So I'm going to try, I'm just going to try my best with it. And to me, it kind of looks like a mealworm, like the end kind of tapers off a bit. I'm probably not showing that the best. It looks like a little pointy. And, I guess maybe the overlapping isn't the greatest here, but I'm going to draw the other. Well, I'm going to stick to this one for now. So the cool thing about mealworms is if you see this image here, if you see the image here, look, the cool thing about them is they have these, they look kind of like a plate. Clearly it's like for protection, I believe. But yeah, they have these ridges over them, and it's like it's contours over their body, so it really helps show how they're facing. Because much like in this image here, we drew an organic form, and we kind of had to know, like we had to really wrap our own contour, or we had to wrap our own partial ellipses around the forms to show that the form is in 3D space, and luckily for mealworms, they already have that. And I don't think I didn't make that long enough. I should have made that a bit longer, I believe. But heck, you mess up sometimes. So yeah, you could kind of like go off of those natural contours that the mealworm has and kind of like show the direction and I really screwed this up, but you kind of get the point, right? I mean, you know, we don't see the full, we can't see the partial ellipses here because the partial ellipses wrap around the form. If you're looking here, 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 because we use that to like to show it in 3D space, and clearly we can only see a portion of the wraparound on the mealworm. But yeah, it's really cool. If you look at a lot of bugs, they have that. They have that. They have protective shells. I guess the right word would be maybe like an exoskeleton, and it kind of like acts as like a shield of armor over them. And I find it really fascinating. I'm going to draw the other one on top. And you know, the weird thing here is that normally when you do an exercise to show the overlapping of like sausages, for example, I'm going to show you like kind of how the exercise flowed. You drew an organic form. No, that's not really a good one. You drew an organic form kind of like that, and the idea was to show how like another organic form would overlap it. So, and the important thing here, well, one, yeah, it's receding, but you'd also kind of like add a pull, and you would kind of want to show how like this organic form here this organic form here that kind of drapes over our other organic form, it kind of like has like, I guess you could define it yourself to how you wanted it to. Like you could make it go in if you wanted it to do that. But like if I'm thinking of a mealworm, when like in this example with this image, like the mealworm is like rigid. Like it's not, it still maintains its outwardness. Like it still maintains its form. It doesn't just like fall in on the sausage. Like it's not a solid thing. I mean, I'm gonna draw the contours real quick on the top. On the top mealworm, or just some, just to get the general idea. And it's not perfect. I probably drew too small, but hey. Okay, I also didn't draw my forms over here. I'm going to do that real quick. But actually, before I do that, I wanted to show... Yeah, I'll do it real quick. I'm not going to draw a lot of these. Okay, so as I said before, you very well could define the ellipses over like the overlapping organic form like how you want to. Like when I think in mealworms, like I think of it being pretty rigid, right? But like another thing is, how far do you want to go to show how one form overlaps another, right? Because like if we're going back to our mealworm example, you could draw a form to show like that this sausage is more like, you know, this sausage has like a back part that falls to it, but like you could choose whether you want to show that back part or not. Like here, I just showed like where it is, but like the back part where it overlaps is just cut off. But you very well could show that it's perhaps, you know, draped over the other side, and we're kind of like trying to go with that illusion, because, you know, the other thing is I guess contours could help as well, and you're kind of showing how it wraps over it. And just to tell you, the degree is important here. Like I kind of showed that like it's kind of at eye level, not really. It would kind of be like that. Here it's more like, you know, the ellipse is a lot steeper. I also realized that if I wanted to go through, and here it's like straight because it's like, you know, it's draping over the other side of our organic form. And I did it with this one to make it a bit more rigid in its nature, but you don't have to do that. Like, you could very well say that it's like a I wish I had a good example, like silly putty or something like that, in which maybe it doesn't have a structure and it just like drapes over whatever. So let me think of how to do that. I'll do it like right. I'll do it on this side. Kind of like that. And just to say, it is like on the other side, and I'm just kind of making it kind of like goop over, like that and that are the same thing, but it's like 75% on this side and maybe 25% on that side. Let me think how to do that. And like, I'll draw a pole here, or you know what, yeah, I'll kind of like show that it's like spreading out kind of like goop. And obviously I would need to do that on the other side too, if you determined that you wanted to draw it that way. And and the other thing is, because it's like goopy, the important thing is the degree. You make sure that it's like wide enough, and as it goes, you kind of thin the degree of the. It's not really ellipse. It looks more like a partial deformed ellipse, is what I would say. But like I said, the important thing is like whether you decide the organic form is rigid or not. Another reason why I think it's important, if you think of like an arm, let's say you have an arm, or like an arm, right? Well, more often than not, and let's just say, I'm not going to draw the hand, but I'm just going to kind of cap it off. But if you look at your own arm, like say your right arm, and you face your palm towards you, right? So if you face your palm towards you, I really can't draw hands, but just know that it's kind of like, if you're looking at it, your hands kind of curve in a bit. I'm just generalizing the shapes here, like the fingers, even though I can't draw fingers, and I'm not going to try it, but it's kind of like that. Your palm is facing you, like this is your that's your palm. There's like a curved side, and there's like a more straight side. I mean, obviously I didn't draw the arm and all that other stuff, but like, I think if you flex your arm, that could be like a good example to show an organic form that could either like push itself outwards, or if you relax it, it can kind of fall in. Like if you have muscles, it would kind of like, and you flex it, you would let's just say flex. The straight side would stay the same, but maybe it would kind of like pop out more. Like I was kind of looking at my own arm, and it would like pop out a bit more because you're flexing those muscles. But if you relax it, it's kind of like a bit thinner because you're not flexing that muscle. So it's kind of important to I think it's like a way to show that organic forms are important, because if you ever want to draw people or animals, you're gonna see those organic shapes in action. Okay, so the last thing I wanted to do, I wanted to draw this guy. I really like this bug. It's another mealworm. And I'm gonna get that out of here. And I think he offers another good example. Like, look at all the twisting and turning he's doing. He's even got some legs, and even his head is kind of like face down. So that presents a couple, interesting challenges for us. Yeah, mealworms are pretty cool. I think they're like a beetle or something like that. And then the tail, it kind of like tapers out to their end. But the important thing here is I'm gonna draw like a thinner. Well, okay, the ellipse is kind of like thin because like the head of our mealworm here is kind of like facing down. So it's like a lot thinner than I would expect it to be. And I just realized I really messed this shape up. Let me try it one more time. It's still really bad. I'm gonna try it again. Okay, I'm still not happy with it. I should have curved that area more. I'm gonna do what I never do and just kind of erase that area real quick, as I don't like it. I don't like it at all. Yeah, oh well. I think the example kinda shows itself. So yeah, there's like, it's, you know, the mealworm here is kind of looking at the ground, so it's a bit of a thin ellipse, but like you can kind of see like right here there is you can see the ellipse, the degree is like, well, I guess you could say the head would be 1 as well, and it's kind of like the degree kind of looks like it kind of widens, and then you kind of, I'm not drawing every one, I'm trying to draw the ones that I think are important. Because here's this mealworm has like a ton of twisting and turning, and I could really see where I messed up. Let me do it. Let me do it one more time. I'm gonna get it this time. Please have faith in me. I'm still not happy with it. Okay, I'm gonna go through with it and try it again. To kind of show it. And you see like right here, it's kind of like the penny from our example before, because it's like we're kind of looking a bit straight at it, but like here we could kind of see more, we can kind of visualize more of that ellipse, so the degree is getting a bit wider. Here we're going to see even more of it. And as we go, it's going to actually be like really big, because we're seeing like a lot more of it. Because it's like more of it is like facing us. I believe that would be right. I didn't draw its legs. Obviously, I'm not trying to match it one-to-one, but it's kind of like that. Kind of like that. Kind of like that. He's got like another face. Look at that. Or it's got like, there's like a head attachment thing. It's like a face thing. You know? I like bugs. Ah, yeah, I really messed that up. Like the tail should be like more like that. Like that. I made it in probably, you know what? I was kind of leaning over to draw. I wasn't really I should have moved my body to the left more to do that. And it's a bad habit of mine. But yeah, I think those are the main important points of organic shapes, and to know that there's just so many different ones. And I think if you practice from a large variety of them, you could draw whatever organic shape you want to get. But like I said, mealworms are a good example. Probably regular, I would think like earthworms would be a good example, because they're really floppy. Like mealworms kind of move and they're a bit more rigid, but like earthworms, they're like goopy. I mean, they won't fall, they won't fall in themselves like that. But I feel like if you had like a worm pile, it would be a lot more of an interesting thing to play around with. But yeah, I think mealworms, worms, the human body, and squash. I think like garden squash, they grow in a very interesting variety of shapes. But yeah, I hope this helps you. If you like what I do, please subscribe. If you have a question, please comment, and I'll try to answer it to the best of my ability. Um, as I said before, I used a program called Thumbtastic. It's free. I made it because I thought it can help people, and I recommend it if you're a digital artist and you want to like look at a bunch of reference using one tool, if it helps. But yeah, thank you for listening. Bye.